If you're anything like me, you probably grew up hearing sayings like God is good, God is loving, God is kind, God is just, God is forgiving. And actually, sometimes God was even described to be jealous and angry. But rarely did you ever hear God being described as rich, which is crazy to me because when you think about God, you cannot describe God without the word infinite. If God is infinite in nature, then is it not obvious that God is rich beyond measure? And if you are God having a human experience, then does that not mean that you're also supposed to be rich beyond measure? So if you are God having a human experience and God is rich, why aren't you? God was never described as rich because it's intentional. You have been taught to perceive being rich as a bad thing because it's made to seem as you desiring more, you desiring opulence, you wanting to have more than enough financially is being greedy. And so God was always packaged to be everything but rich. You not being able to experience opulence, you being broke, you living paycheck to paycheck is literally a denial of your nature as God, because you are God having a human experience, and therefore your essence is infinite. And therefore, when you're experiencing anything but that infinity, you are falling for the illusion of separation. And so in this video, I'm gonna teach you how to become so rich that the universe has no choice but to give you every single thing you've ever wanted. So first things first, let's actually answer the question, because if God is rich, then why aren't you? Now, the reason why you're not rich is because you've forgotten that you're God. You've forgotten that you're the one who has orchestrated everything that is happening around you. You forgot that you are literally God experiencing itself, and now you have fallen for the illusion of separation. You look at your current reality and you think that this is all it's ever been, this is all it's ever going to be, and you are also surrounded by people who have forgotten that they are God. So they pass down their conditioning to you because they were also conditioned by the people before them. And so you grew up hearing things like, you know, wanting more money is greedy, or money doesn't grow on trees, or money is really difficult to make, or the only way to make a lot of money is through fraud or doing bad things. So even when you really want to make more money, you somehow end up sabotaging any opportunity that comes your way, or you just don't even notice, or you don't even take the chances, not because you don't want to, but because your subconscious mind literally is trying to protect you from making more money, because your subconscious mind equates making more money to danger. Making more money means that you have to work 10 times harder. So your subconscious mind doesn't want you to do all of that. It's trying to protect you. But the reason why it's doing all of that, it's because you forgot that you were God. Before your soul came to this planet, you had to forget this. You had to forget that you were God experiencing itself in order for you to have an authentic human experience, because the joy of experiencing life is in the remembering. When you start to have moments where you remember that you're God, and then you experience yourself remembering and experience yourself materializing things without so much effort, that's the joy, that's the fun of it all. In different times and against different circumstances and at a different frequency and wearing a different mask, remembering that we've never been limited in the first place. So the reason why you're not rich is literally because you forgot that you were God, and you're surrounded by people who also forgot that they were God, and they created this system that is confined in time and space in the 3D dimension. So now when you think about money, you think about a number in your bank account, or you think about, you know, stacks of money. You think about something physical. Money itself is just a tool that allows you to buy and sell things. Because if you just see the number in your bank account and you can't do anything with it, then do you still get to say that you have money if you can't benefit from it? Being rich is being able to live the way you want. You want to be able to experience opulence and have more than enough and just do whatever you want to do. So if it was just a number and the number doesn't allow you to do anything, then that's not rich, is it? You're not broke or poor because you're just supposed to be, or because you're not deserving of having money. I mean, look at the people who have lots of money. If this thing was really about morals, then most of the people that have money really shouldn't have money. You have been taught that money is something that you are rewarded with, that the universe or God rewards you with money, or rewards you with the desires of your heart when you do things that make you worthy of getting that money. You find yourself in a loop of constantly having to do more, and you keep thinking that, oh, maybe if I just do this, maybe if I give 10% to the church, maybe if I give to the poor, maybe if I donate my clothes, maybe if I'm kind to strangers, then I will be rewarded by money. Actually, take a look at the very wealthy people. Most of them are very lacking in morals. And this is not to say that, oh, for you to become rich, then you have to lack in morals. No, there are infinite ways for you to become wealthy. You don't have to cut corners and manipulate people and even kill people for you to get what you want, because doing anything but aligning with who you are as God is separation from God. So even the wealthy people that have made their money because of manipulating people or whatever, it's not the manipulation that made them the money, it's their entitlement to that money. They believe they deserve it. They're so entitled to the money that the money just comes to them, because to them there's no other way to this. Like, they're either wealthy or wealthy. Like, there's literally no other way to this. Because you're a good person and you were brought up in a good home, you've been taught that wanting more money or like too much money, or people who make so much money, are cutting corners in one way or another. So most of the times when you look at people who are wealthy, you look at maybe the action that they took in order to make that money, and you think that it's that action that led to that money. So when you're thinking about it, you're like, oh, but I've tried trading before and it just doesn't work. They have to be scamming. It has to be a scam. There's no way, because I have a friend who's in the same industry and they're not making as much money as they are. This is the reason why certain people, you can literally be doing the same thing as somebody and they end up getting the opportunities and they end up getting the money and you don't. Not because you're not worthy, or you're just supposed to be poor, or you're just supposed to be broke forever because riches are reserved for certain people. The only reason why you are broke, you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you just never have enough money is not because you're not worthy of it, or you're not good enough for it, or you haven't done as many good things as you need to please the universe or God. It's simply because you don't believe that you just deserve it for just being, which is crazy because you are God. There is nobody that is literally sat on a throne saying that you're never gonna have money. If it was really about morals, then 95% of the population would have money. Be a morally upright person because you want to, not because you think that being morally upright is going to deserve you, is going to make you worthy of money, or is going to make you worthy of the things that you want. The universe doesn't have any hidden agendas, any hidden intentions for itself. The only thing that the universe does is it accurately mirrors your state of consciousness. So if you don't have money in your physical reality, is because you don't believe that you should have it. You can only get as much money as you know you should. If making 10 grand a month is so much money to you, then you will never make 10 grand a month. But that doesn't mean that there isn't somebody out there that is making $1 million in a day. You are begging to be able to just make 5K this month. As infinite intelligence, you know everything, but simply knowing is static. The only way for you to expand as God is through experience. And the only way you can actually experience things properly is if you don't know that you know everything in the first place. So even when you start to unlearn all these things, maybe you're reading books or now you're learning about spirituality, and we went from the motivational speakers telling us to grind and hustle and chase the bag, and then the spiritual teachers now telling you that actually you don't chase, you attract. But now you're trying to sit down and your way into getting all the money, and it's still not coming, because at the end of the day, both those approaches are saying that you are separate from money, which is a false idea, because you are God experiencing itself. Therefore, money is not something you chase or attract. Money is something you remember that you already are. By the time you are seeing a number in your bank account, by the time you're seeing stacks of money, the bills piling up, that physicality is a final result of your state of consciousness. So if you are already in a state of consciousness of poverty, a state of consciousness that says that money is difficult to make, things just never work out for you, people like us just don't make that much money, or you have to work twice as hard to get half as much, then it doesn't matter the action you take. It doesn't matter the action you take if you are taking that action from a place of some sort of limitation because you still have not transcended your ego. You're falling for the illusion of separation and you're only seeing yourself as just a human being. being instead of God having a human experience, then you will always continue to be limited. So even when you try to take the necessary steps to make the money that you want to make, you will always feel limited. You will end up being the person who starts a YouTube channel and never makes enough money, or you end up getting into that lucrative business that everyone keeps swearing they're making so much money in, and you just end up not being the one who makes money. Not because there isn't money to be made. There actually is a lot of money to be made, guys. There are people who are making $1 million a day. If you understand money in the way that I'm going to tell you, you will never lack money in your life. First of all, let's define God. God is infinite and formless. This means that God as a spirit is just pure consciousness. When I say pure consciousness, I mean like pure awareness. So God as pure consciousness is formless. Formless and infinite. Infinite meaning can be anything, can be as big as small, never ending. And formless means that God is not confined into any form. So apart from you being God, having a human experience, every other thing on planet Earth is also God having a physical experience. Every single thing that your senses can perceive is God having a physical experience. That also includes money. Money is God having a currency experience. So the one thing that you and money have in common is that both of you stem from the same consciousness. In your essence as a human, if you transcend your physical vessel, you are God having a human experience. And if you also transcend the physicality of money, if you stop just looking at the number and you also stop thinking about money as a piece of paper and the things that it can get you, money is also God having a currency experience. Every single thing that you see in the physical world started in the unseen first, because every single thing that you see was an idea first. Somebody tapped into the idea and started to play around with the idea for it to collapse into physicality. It started in the unknown, in the unseen. It started as a potentiality, as one of the infinite potentialities that existed, one of the infinite possibilities that existed. Every single idea that you could ever think of already exists. There is nothing to be created. When people invent things, when we say, like for example, we say that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb. He tapped into one of the infinite possibilities that already existed, and through his intuition, he was guided through a series of experiments that ended up in the materialization of the light bulb. But he didn't actually invent the light bulb, because nothing is actually being created. Every single thing already exists as an infinite potentiality. Like, you're not actually creating anything. So when you think about the amount of money that you want to make, you don't need to create that. You don't need to create the opportunity to get there. All you have to do is to tune into the frequency of already having that money, and the version of you that has already made that money will guide you on how to actually make it. The problem is you are trying to pinpoint an action, and then you think that if I can just take this amount of action as many times as possible and just keep being consistent with it and discipline, and if the economy is on my side and lucky girl syndrome or whatever, then I'll be able to materialize what I want. No, that is a very long-winded way of doing things. Every single industry is oversaturated, but the one thing that sets the successful people apart from the ones that don't become successful is not the action they take, is not in the strategy, it's in how entitled they are to their dream reality. They have a sense of entitlement, and that is the sense of entitlement that you need to step into, because you and money are one. You don't need to chase, and neither do you need to attract money. You need to remember that you are money, because money is God and you are God. So when you look at it that way, it stops being a matter of what do I need to do to get this money? Because most of the times, if you're now thinking about, oh, I need to make, I need to be able to make 10K by the end of this month, your brain is quickly going to go to, okay, maybe I should do this, maybe I should work a few more hours at work, maybe I should save, maybe I should invest, maybe I should do this. That is your ego trying to figure out the how, and the how, as long as the ego is trying to figure out the how, it will always be limited. It doesn't matter. You could do all the gymnastics that you want to do, and you can watch all the strategy videos that you want to watch, but as long as you are the one who's trying to figure out the how, you will limit yourself. It doesn't matter. You will limit yourself. For you to become rich physically, you must first become rich in consciousness. And this is what Jesus was referring to when he said, those who have, more will be given, and those who don't, even the little that they have will be taken away from them. Having in this case is having in consciousness. You need to be rich in consciousness first. That is the only way. The morality of what you're doing to make your money doesn't actually matter. It's not a factor in your manifestation unless you allow it to be. Whether it's running a business or a 9-to-5 or being a content creator, being an escort, being a drug dealer, it doesn't fucking matter. It actually doesn't matter. If you are moralizing your actions so much so that they are limiting you from making more money, that is not because you're being punished for being immoral. Nobody is punishing you. You are the one punishing yourself. So if you believe that something is wrong and as long as you do that, you will never make money, then that will be true for you. Not because you're being punished by God, but because you are quite literally punishing yourself. Because there's only you in this experience. Everything that you're experiencing around you is you pushed out. Even now, as you're watching my video, this is just you vibrating at a different frequency. I'm just you wearing a different mask. So when you're seeing that individual who is making $1 million a day, that is you as God at a different state of consciousness. For you to be rich physically, you must first be rich in consciousness. And the only way for you to be rich in consciousness is to realize that you are God and therefore you are infinite in nature. And money is just one of the ways that you express yourself. And therefore you are not separated from money. Money is not something you earn. Money is not something you get. You don't get rich. You don't become rich. You are rich because you are money. And therefore you get to decide how much money you want to have in this experience. A lot of people in the spiritual community like to say things like, money is energy. I feel as though they say these things very lightly and they don't really understand what they're even saying. Money is consciousness having a circulation experience. Money is God having a circulation experience. Unless it's flowing, it doesn't have any use. Because if that money is just sitting in the bank, if that money is just sitting in the safe, it's not actually really doing anything. The only way for you to benefit from money is if there's flow. And so money is not only energy, it's actually consciousness or God having a circulation experience. And therefore, both you and money, at your essence, you are both God. So money is not something that you get, money is something you remember. Money doesn't flow to you, it flows through you because you are the source. If you're negotiating and you decide to lowball yourself because you've decided that people don't have money, it's not because people don't actually have money, it's because you, as the source, you have chosen to limit your source. You can only make as much as you feel yourself worthy to be. And this is why I'm saying you need to become entitled, because it is your birthright. It is literally you. It's who you are. You are money because you are God. Money is just one of the ways you also express yourself as God. So why would you want to limit yourself to just what your ego thinks is possible? God is infinite. Infinite means the more you take from your infinite source, the more infinity expands because it's infinite. It's never ending. You can continue to take and take and take, and the more you take, the more it expands. So the question is, why are you choosing to take so little? Struggling financially is literally a denial of your nature as God. In my last video, there was a grown man who left a comment saying that, oh, she's actually not inventing any of this information. You guys should watch Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike and Wayne Dyer. And I said to myself, why would I invent anything? No one is inventing anything. Neville Goddard did not invent anything. The only thing that these spiritual teachers have done is they've come up with a different way of explaining what already exists. What I'm doing here, I'm not giving you guys new information. I'm just explaining it in a way that might click for you. This is not new information. You can go and watch this video from somebody else who's just going to say it who's just going to use different words to say the same thing. When you focus on what it is that you want, your subconscious mind is going to start showing you the way on how to get there. Because if you're trying to figure things out yourself, that means that the ego is trying to figure out the how. The universe always knows the path of least resistance. And as long as you're tapped into the consciousness of already having what it is that you want, you're going to start receiving nudges. The universe is going to literally start orchestrating everything for you, reorganizing everything in your physical reality so that it can match your state of consciousness. So when you're currently observing your current reality and you don't have money, that is an echo of yesterday's consciousness. By the time you're seeing that number in your bank account, by the time you're seeing the bills piling up, that is already old news. You cannot change that by just looking at it and changing it from the physical realm. You have to go back to the unseen, because before anything becomes physical, it starts from the unseen. It starts from the mind of God. So you have to go back to the mind of God. You have to go back to your mind, your essence as God, and remember that first of all, it's you, it's all you, everything is you. So allow yourself to have more. So how do you actually become rich? Becoming rich is not about having money. It's not about getting money. You get money because you are already rich in consciousness. Consciousness always precedes creation. Consciousness always precedes creation. Consciousness always precedes creation. Consciousness always precedes creation. Whatever you are in consciousness, you must also be that in the physical realm. So you have to first of all become rich in the unseen, rich before there's any evidence, rich before the world has proven it to you, so that finally the world can actually prove it to you. So the first thing you need to do is to completely detach from your current circumstances. The three planes of existence. The physical realm is always the effect realm. By the time you are seeing anything physical, it has already gone through the unseen. So what your senses are perceiving is literally the final product. So by the time you are seeing the lack, the bills are piling up, that is a reflection of your past consciousness. So you cannot fix that situation by focusing on that situation, because now if you start to focus on that situation and allow that situation to tamper with your state of consciousness, then through the mirror principle you start to just replay this cycle again and again. You started with the story of money doesn't grow on trees, black people have to work 10 times harder to get half as much, and that state of consciousness then created the lack that you're experiencing now. And then now you look at the scarcity and you look at the lack and you use that as evidence and you say, look, I don't have money. Obviously, I don't have money. But you're not understanding that by the time you're seeing this, it already started from this. It started from the unknown. So what we need to do is to trace back to the unknown. So let this be. You let it be by accepting what it is. You need to accept where you are at the moment. It doesn't matter how bad of a position you are, you need to accept where you are. Radically, wholeheartedly accept where you are. And let all the emotions that are attached to that reality, let them flow through. Because if you don't allow those emotions to flow through you, you're going to be spending so much energy trying to manage that emotion. Because now what most people do is you start learning about manifestation and then you're like, oh, I don't want to feel negative emotions because if I feel negative emotions, it's going to ruin my manifestations. But actually, not being able to feel negative emotion is a stagnation in itself. There is a reason why you have both negative and positive emotions. So you need to radically look at your current life and your current financial circumstances and accept them for what they are. Cry about it, curse if you need to, do whatever you need to, just let the emotion come out of you. Because if you can finally just accept where you are and just let it be, then you can stop panicking so much. It's a reflection of your past state of consciousness. This is not the truth. This is an echo of the past. Let it remain an echo. Because if you continue to allow that echo to affect you, then now you set in stone another loop of this continuing. So it stops when you see it for what it is, accept it, cry about it, let the emotions come out of you, and then now go back to consciousness and start again. And then the next step, you need to normalize the amount of money that you want to make. It needs to become so normal that it's boring. What do you feel about the amount of money that you're currently making? You'd probably tell me that it's not enough. That's how I need you to think and feel about the amount of money that you want to make. Because it actually is nothing. Your reservoir is infinite. You are God. You are infinite in nature. Literally, the more you take from your infinite source, the more that infinity expands. It's never ending. You could continuously take and take and take every single day. You could take 50 million every single day and there would still be enough. There would still be enough left for you and for everyone else, because the source is infinite. You as the source are infinite. So the amount of money that you want to make is nothing compared to who you are. You are infinite. So whether you want to make 10 grand a month or 10 grand a day or $1 million a day, you are infinite. So choose an amount of money that feels believable to your nervous system, an amount of money that obviously is higher than what you're currently making, and your nervous system can actually hold it. It needs to be something that you feel 100% conviction that this is possible for me. Because for example, if you're moving from not making any money to making $1 million a day, that is definitely possible. It's 100% possible because you are God in nature. However, because you're still confined in the physical realm, your nervous system might not be able to do a big of a jump like that. So if you can start going step by step, so for example, start by doubling your current income. You can definitely get your nervous system to start imagining that. So you need to start normalizing the amount of money you want to make. I'm talking consume content of people who are spending that amount of money in a day. I want you to watch so much content that you become desensitized to these numbers. Become friends with people who are making as much money. Like, I literally want you to be so unimpressed by it. And now when you're looking at it like it's over there and you're over here and you're thinking, oh, I'm currently making 5,000. If I was to make double that, oh my gosh, it would be so much. I would be so happy. No, you wouldn't. You'd be excited for a day and then you'd move on, and then you'd also go back to saying that it's not enough, and it would be pissing you off. So you need to be pissed off now. You need to see it as so little and so mundane and so unimpressive now. Because if you can see it as unimpressive, which it actually is, because it's nothing compared to your nature as infinite intelligence, it's literally nothing. You want to make $1 million a day? Your pool is infinite. $1 million is nothing compared to infinity. Infinity is never ending. The more you take from your infinite source, the more that infinite source expands. You can never deplete it. Regardless of how hard you try, you cannot deplete it. In fact, you will get bored before you can ever deplete your source. That's how unlimited you are. So you need to normalize this amount of money so much so that it feels as worthless as your current income. And then the third step, we need to connect the essence realm, who you are in essence, which is an infinite being. You are God having a human experience. That is who you are from your essence, from your spirit. And then the physical version of you is who you know yourself to be now. So the link between those two is the mental plane. The mental plane is where everything is created. When I say created, I'm saying created in quotes because you're not actually creating anything. You're just continuously observing something, observing what you want in your head, so much so that it starts to collapse into reality. And the way you do that is think about the amount of money that you want to make. Let's say you're doubling your income now. Imagine yourself already making that. Like, imagine 3 months of making that money. It's not impressive anymore. You're bored. You even realize that actually it's not even enough money. It can't even get you the kind of life that you wanted. See how unimpressed you are by it. See how normal it is. See how your lifestyle is just very, you no longer even get excited going to shops anymore because there's really nothing that you want. You've bought everything that you want. want, you don't really care anymore. So imagine yourself from the end. Don't imagine how you're going to get there, because again, the how is not for you to figure out. The moment your mind starts thinking about the how or starts thinking about ways, as long as you are the one who's thinking, as long as it's your ego who's thinking about the how to get there, it will be limited. Please be aware that that is your ego, that is not you, that is not your intuition. Anything that feels like trying to figure something out, that's not intuition, that is your ego trying to figure out the how. And as you're doing this, as you're imagining, your ego is going to step in and start telling you that it's not possible, and it's not going to work, it's never worked for anyone, it didn't even work last time. And it's also going to suppress the instances that you've actually manifested something. Every single time that I have manifested an amount of money and then I want to manifest a bigger amount the next time, my ego always makes me forget all the instances that I manifested. And it makes it sound like those were just coincidences. It happened because it just did. You had nothing to do with that. No, you are constantly manifesting your reality. Whether you're doing it knowingly or not, you are always manifesting your reality. The only thing that I'm teaching you now to do is to do it consciously. Whether you understand the process or not doesn't exempt you from being part of the process. Now, because you know the process, then you can consciously put the right codes so that it can lead you to the kind of reality that you would prefer. So you need to make sure that you continue imagining what it is that you want from the end, not the how, not the when, not if, when, just imagine the end. That's it. When your ego starts stepping in, telling you, oh, it's not going to happen, don't even argue with the ego. Don't try to prove your point to the ego. Don't try to argue. Just remain aware that that is the ego. Literally, just let it be background noise. After the ego realizes that you're not paying attention, that voice is going to start quieting down. Something that I like to do when I am normalizing the amount of money I want to make is I create a budget from that amount of money. And once you budget that money, you will really see very quickly how much it's actually nothing. It really is nothing. When you're just thinking about it as a figure in your head, it feels big and grand and so much more than what you're currently making. But once you do the numbers, once you see, oh, after I've paid for the bills, after I've done this and that, I travel, it's nothing. This is nothing. This is actually nothing. And if you can see it as nothing, then you can stop having it on a pedestal. As long as you continue to have the amount of money that you want to make on a pedestal, it will remain on a pedestal. The reason why you're making the amount of money you're making now is because it's normal for you. And so the amount of money that you want to make also needs to become normal before you even start making it. The final step is always embodiment. You need to live your life like you are already making that money, not like you will make that money in future or you're hoping to make it. You are already making that money now. Because what happens when you start to embody the version of yourself that already has that money, you actually start receiving guidance from that version of you. There is currently a version of you that already has that money. You don't get rich by creating the money yourself. You become rich by, first of all, stepping into the version of yourself that already has that money, that is already making that money easy. You're going to get a hunch to do something, maybe to offer a service, maybe to increase your prices, maybe to launch something, maybe to speak to somebody. When you get these hunches to do something, that is now when you do something. Follow that hunch, because that is what is going to lead to the materialization of what it is that you want. But as long as you're not paying attention to the hunches that you're receiving, then you won't be able to actually bring this into physicality. So apart from imagining from the end and living from the end, you need to also make sure that you're paying attention to your intuition. And the way to do that is to make sure that you imagine so much so that it becomes so vivid in your mind that your inner world becomes more real to you than your outer world. That means that your subconscious mind has actually accepted that as a fact. And if you have accepted the fact that you are making the amount of money that you want to make on a subconscious level, then you must make that money on a physical level. That is how you make money. If you are currently stuck in a reality that you don't like, I have actually opened up one-to-one sessions. I'm actually doing it as a consultation, so I have opened up a few limited spots this week. So if you want to speak to me about your current reality, then all the details are going to be in the description box. You don't wait for the money to become rich. You become rich and therefore you get the money. Prove to yourself that you are rich first, and the money is just going to be a consequence of that.